Chapter 44, Every Man for Himself? And it starts with a quote by Bill Withers from the song Lean on Me. You just call on me, brother, when you need a hand. We all need somebody to lean on. I just might have a problem that you'll understand. We all need somebody to lean on. In the old Lone Ranger days of masculinity, men were determined to get there on their own. Seldom would they ever let down the window and ask for help getting somewhere. Gratefully, that is changing fast. Men need mentoring from those who have journeyed further down the road, and wise men need to mentor as much as we need their counsel. The year was 1982 BC, which stands for before cellular. I noticed him right away, big, black, and beautiful. He was dressed in a suit and tie, unusually classy for the subway. He was busy breaking the 4 laws of the New York City underground. 1, mind your own business. 2, bury your face in a newspaper. 3, look miserable. 4, above all, don't talk to strangers. He was having none of that. Although I didn't know it at the time, he had a reputation and a street name. Richard Bartee was known as the D-Train poet. Unlike the rest of us, he was not on the train to get to a specific location. He was not there to commute, but to commune. He approached me with a twinkle in his eye and a question. Would you like to see a picture of the next savior of the world? I had no idea what he was up to, but I was curious, so I consented. He took out a pocket mirror and held it up to my face. Surprise, you're it. Not it. I was 19 years old, a college dropout, living on my own for the first time, trying to find out who I was and what I believed in. I felt insecure as hell. Richard was confident, elegant, and free in his self-expression and generosity. I was intrigued. I kept seeing Richard around the city, and eventually a friendship developed. One night I was strolling through Greenwich Village, smoking pot, and stumbled upon a most unusual sight. Richard was talking to a captivated group of teenagers, giving him their undivided attention. He was using rap, poetry, and humor to encourage them to stay away from smoking, drinking, and drugs. Oh, shit. Just as I started to quickly walk the other way, he spotted me. He called me over and gave me a big bear hug as I dropped the joint to the sidewalk and braced myself for his reaction to the pungent smoke around me. Richard gave me his brightest smile. Although he had strong feelings about living a drug-free life, he had even stronger feelings about accepting people as they are and seeing the magnificence in them, especially when they weren't yet seeing it in themselves. As if New York City was a small town, we kept running into each other, and through it all a friendship emerged. I nicknamed him Swami Subwaynanda, and he loved it. Richard's subway outreach was a big part of his life. Anyone who has ever doubted the prediction of Jesus that humanity would one day do greater works than him has never seen Richard raise a crowd of people from the dead in a subway. One time I saw him getting almost everyone on a crowded train to chant, "More huggin', less muggin'." This was his signature slogan, and the chorus of a rap song he wrote way before rap was the rage. I asked everybody agreed. More hugging, less mugging is what we need. I started spotting those words on window decals and bumper stickers all over the city. A teacher of meditation whom I was studying with at the time warned her students to avoid the subways. She said the vibrations down there were so dense and could be very draining to sensitive souls seeking to serve humanity. I was so glad that Richard hadn't studied with her. Richard was once a police officer, but had discovered that he preferred preventing crime with caring and creativity rather than fighting it with badge and gun. Besides being a rhyming, blazing light in the tunnels of the city, Richard was also a minister, a political activist, a gospel singer, and a great improviser of lyrics. We shared wonderful times improvising songs together, and he was a big supporter of my emerging musical career. I was thrilled to have a man 20 years my senior believe in me so enthusiastically. One tune of mine, Follow Your Heart, was his clear favorite. That song's meant to be big, Scott. The whole world needs to know about that song. I had written and sung it as a folk ballad.
Now there's many a lawyer who'd rather be dancing, and some dancers who'd like to try law. Just follow your heart to the fountain of truth and see what your life has in store. Follow, follow, follow your heart. Find the still small voice inside. Follow your heart to the fountain of truth and drink from its endless supply.
Richard thought it was more suited for gospel. I wish I had a recording of what he shared with me. When he shared the song with me, it was so full of his heart and soul, I barely recognized my own song. He brought it to life, just as he did everything and everyone around him. Richard was Christian and loved Jesus in a big way. He was fired up with a sense of purpose and considered himself a missionary. But his mission was not to share his church or even his Savior. He opened my mind to possibilities I didn't know existed. At the time, I was more of an atheist and had not yet met a traditional Christian who so honored everyone's point of view. His missionary position was that everyone belonged on top. When I moved to California in 1990, I didn't keep in touch with Richard. Early in 2003, he found me on the internet. After a few emails, we had a wonderful phone conversation, catching each other up on the far too many years we had been out of touch. Feeling like the prodigal son sheepishly returning, I apologized for how long I had been out of contact. He welcomed me with open arms and expressed a strong desire to hear the music that had come out of me since leaving the East Coast. I sent him 13 years of material he had not heard before. 2 months passed when Richard's wife called to tell me of his death. She wanted me to know he spoke of me often and had fatherly feelings for me. I told her how much he meant to me, how he had infused me with his spirit in such a way that my life had been forever changed. Because of his mentoring, I was no longer playing follow the leader. I was leading myself and finding my unique way to inspire others, just as he did. Richard could be tough, but preferred to be tender. He cared about the next generation as if every child and teenager he came in contact with was his own. New York City in the 1990s was troubled, gritty, and crime-infested. But when Officer Richard was on the prowl, nobody was in danger, never off duty. He was there to protect and serve, to love and to listen. His life and his legacy inspired me to become a kind of man I never knew existed. I've had other important role models and teachers, but my cop buddy taught me more about the medicinal value of masculinity than anyone. Now I'd like to speak directly to my friend. Richard, I am so grateful for your example of creative self-expression, your fearless living and loving, as well as the sincere interest you took in me. I will always remember you holding that mirror to my face the first time we met. Back then I thought you were crazy, and ever since then I've been aspiring to reach your level of insanity. You passed your torch to me and countless others. Help us hold it high and continue to support us in being the light that we are, the light in the tunnel. Now that I'm no longer a strict, law-abiding atheist, sometimes I pray to Richard. I ask to borrow his courage and to infuse me with his strength. When I took on the persona of the spiritual Dr. Seuss, I felt him cheering me on all the way. Men who are coming into their own need mentoring. Men who have done so need to give back. We are at our masculine best, not as lone rangers, but in our interdependence. Why is the song Lean on Me so universally loved? Deep down, we know it's a great thing to need each other, maybe even a God thing. No man can go it alone.
Walking this world alone cannot bring me all the way home. I've seen it raining on my charade of private happiness.
This chapter ends with an African proverb, a quote that says, "If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together."